Juan for pedalsandeffects.com, and we have Simon Francis here with us. He is on tour right now with Ellie Goulding, right? And I thought it'd be interesting to have you on because I know that you are, I follow you on Instagram and you're way into effects, and I knew you know, we'd have a billion things to talk about, but I'm not very aware of Ellie Goulding. I know she's a big star, but I don't know her music, so I thought it'd be cool to like kind of share with anybody who's interested in pedals effects land, like how you got the gig and how do you like doing it, because you already told me a little, like you've been in it for 4 years now.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. Yeah, 3.5. Yeah.
And it was just basically you met the drummer.
Yeah, I met Joe, the drummer, musical director, at a festival backstage.
Right.
Yeah, we had a bunch of mutual friends. Yeah, we met there, and then I bumped into him in London in a shopping mall like a week or two after, and there was an acoustic gig coming up with Ellie. Like, I think it was either like a week later or really soon after, and they were like, we need someone just to play bass. And I did that, and then after that we just began like, a conversation about, they were kind of, at that time it was a 3-piece band. So it was drums, keys, guy playing guitar, keys and bass, and they wanted to make bass a permanent role. So yeah, like a year later when her second record came out, I got hired. And
wow.
Yeah.
So are you on the second record?
No, I've not played on any of the records.
Okay.
I played bass on an acoustic recording of Love Me Like You Do, which I think is out there somewhere.
Right.
And I'm not sure, I did do it. Yeah, I think that's out. I think it's released.
Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, generally, I mean, she did the third record, which the recent one was done with loads of LA guys.
So when you mean acoustic, is it acoustic bass guitar or is it upright?
No, well, for that one I played like a old Guild Starfire.
Oh right.
It was my first thing.
Nice. With the Dark Star?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like with the Hagströms.
With the Hagström, the real quick, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, the original ones.
Yeah. Super cool.
And then a year later they wanted someone to play bass. So yeah, I got hired for that. I went to a meeting that I thought was going to be like a chat about the potential of it, and then like the manager was like, "Welcome to the gig," and I was like, "Okay, great." So it was like, so it was like that was it, and then so I was brought on as bass and then some synth bass as well. But Joe, the MD, kind of knew that I fiddled with noises, and I'd kind of been in bands around London, just playing through lots of effects and creating synth sounds on bass, and like I always loved synths. But I was a bass player first, and that was kind of what I knew, so it seemed to make sense to me to create that on the instrument that I was most familiar with.
Sure, right.
Yeah, and so when I was hired for the gig, it was like, well, they really wanted to explore that. They were really keen. Joe, the drummer, was really keen he really felt that connection between like a drummer and bass player, so I was really keen to kind of recreate a lot of the synth lines on that. So yeah, we've kind of maintained that. Now the new record is, some of the parts just were harder to kind of the way that the synth sounds were. They just needed to be synth based. But yeah. So
you were saying you have a MIDI rig that you use.
Yeah. So I have like a MIDI controller. Yeah, which is like we had this. Yeah, all of our keyboards on stage go into one computer.
Right. Oh wow. Right.
Yeah. So like I helped build like the software end of that. So we use Ableton Live, and then I wrote a few programs within that just to help it do some of the stuff we wanted to do. Yeah, which
so this I really love this conversation because I get a lot of people asking me like advice, becoming a professional, and then I say, well, today's day, like maybe 10 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have told somebody, play bass but also work on your synth. Yeah. And then it seems like the last however many years, but I know I would just watch Saturday Night Live or any kind of program, and you'd see the bass player and he'd have a bass on, but he'd be playing bass synth, and then he would maybe go to bass on the next song or something, and I go, this is where you have to be able to have a comprehension of both, because so much music is really artificial bass, or not maybe artificial bass, but like synth bass, synthesizer driven bass, and not just electric bass.
Yeah, definitely like having like, I guess like a literacy in in those disciplines for me has been like really helpful.
I mean, you know how to do Ableton, see, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean and I was just like some kid, kind of geeking out with software in a room, and was really lucky kind of when I was younger to be involved in projects where we were really able to implement that, and I guess particularly like push that to some of its more like experimental ends, and like, you know, like even like doing projects where we were using kind of like live looping and samples, but weren't necessarily always playing to a click track.
Right.
But using Ableton to be able to kind of keep up with us, and then that now kind of then on a pop gig, kind of you can scale back from that, and that has loads of applications
Right.
to this, which kind of for work, you know, just means that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I certainly in London, I don't know what the scene is out here, but I don't know anyone. All of my friends who play bass, they're all playing keys bass as well with it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, like I started out trying to do all of that just on bass and got by doing that for a while, but you kind of reach a limit where there's just some things and that need to be. I think they don't translate quite the same from the keyboard to the fretboard, and then.
Right.
I mean, but there's points in our current set. I think there's times when I'm playing like keys bass and playing like tapping out a bass line underneath
Really?
it. Yeah, well, because you kind of get sent these like. Whenever we get sent like the studio sessions to learn them, like I always view it as a challenge to play anything that has bass on it. I'm like, well, I'll cover this on the gig.
Right.
But then it'll be like, well, there's like all these different sounds. So it'll be like, yeah, well, I can do like the bass drop on the bass with like the whammy, and then I can play the bass synth part on top of it with this. And
Right.
And then with computers, you can kind of like shift your sounds as you go. So if
Sure.
you don't have a free hand to change your synth sound, the computer can do that for you. So then you just jump an octave and you have different
And that's
sounds.
Ableton
So-
controlling all, not
yeah,
main
so
stage.
like so it's just it's essentially like a sequencer. So you
Right.
just kind of tell it. Yeah, we were on main stage, but especially with the dancier stuff, main stages didn't stay in time always with
Wow.
with stuff. It didn't seem
Right.
to like being like, I guess, like a slave to time. So it would
Right.
kind of like.
Float?
Whereas Ableton will just like, if you tell it to do something, it does it, and then
Wow.
you can like, even when you're like doing like some of the art basses, you can like put in the swing amounts, but you can also like shift where it is on it. Like you can offset the beat. So if you want it to like sit in the pocket a bit more, then you can do that, and then you can like. There's nothing to stop you from shifting that through the song as well. So if you kind of are like,
Right.
yeah, so it's like, I mean, yeah, like on this song where every song, like on this gig where every song has a distinct start and end.
Right.
It's kind of, so you can then fill in the gaps in between that. So
So is there a ton of production? I mean, you play in the Staples Center, which is the biggest
Yeah.
place to play here in LA. Is there a ton of production?
yeah, so we tour with dancers now. So this is the first tour I've done. We have 4 male dancers,
Wow.
and then we have like these drapes, lights, video walls. Yeah, so. But I think like the first gig I did like 3.5 years ago, we came out and we did like the Troubadour, and then it was like the Wilton, and then now the Staples Center. So it's like.
And you played last night in San Jose?
Yeah, it was San Jose last night at, I don't know what the arena was called.
I don't know either, because I'm from Northern California, but San Jose is 2 hours from where I grew up, so it's like I don't know it so well. But
It'll be on my phone.
was it a bunch of .comers there? Like, did you have like Facebook people backstage?
I don't know. There might have been.
Right.
We went to the Tesla factory in the day, and we got the tour,
Nice.
which was crazy.
That is cool.
It was the SAP Center in San Jose.
You know that one, Nick?
No.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
We just like if we go to San Jose, we're playing some dive bar or something.
Yeah. So I mean, like we got in, and then someone was like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the Tesla factory." So had the tour of the Tesla factory.
That's so.
Which is
Well, you
awesome.
probably played the stadium or whatever, the arena there.
Yeah, you must have done that.
I mean, I don't think so, because you play Oakland and then you don't play. You won't. There isn't enough money to, make it into San Jose.
Yeah, I've never been to San Jose before, but we didn't do Oakland.
Right. I mean, I thought it was like on the System of the Down tour. When we opened up for System of the Down, we played Fresno, and I remember that was like, whoa, weird. We're playing Fresno, or maybe even on the what was it, Perfect Circle tour? We played smaller city arenas, but with the Chili Peppers, it was always just like Oakland, and then
Because I feel like on this tour for us, a lot of the I look at it and not knowing places in the States, I'm like, oh, we're not going to like Chicago, but then someone will be like, oh, but you're doing Rosemont, Illinois, which is just outside.
Right.
So I think, I don't know, I guess some of those venues are.
Yeah, no,
just
definitely.
outside.
Yeah, like some of the big, because it's also like if they have a big venue outside of the main city,
Yeah.
it's cheaper. Like with the I think on one of the tours of the Chili Peppers we played, you know, just over the state line into Jersey.
Yeah.
Because Madison Square Garden is so expensive to rent out. So you don't your profit margin is less because it's expensive. You know, we did do Madison Square Garden with them like in 2003, but I think 6 or 7 or whatever one of those other tours was, it was like we played Jersey and not in New York City. So yeah, it just makes more financial sense. But yeah, arena things, like, you know, it's one of those things that I just don't look forward to, is like waking up underneath the venue.
I know.
And then you walk out of the bus and then you go up and you're in the arena and you look around, you're like, you're in the middle of nowhere because the arena's not in the city.
Yeah, when you have no idea where you are, and then you walk out and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm in a parking lot.
I'm staying here for the next 24 hours in a parking lot or underneath a venue.
Yeah.
So, and then how long is this tour?
We're kind of going until the end of June, pretty much.
Okay.
So we're in these kind of 4-week cycles where we have 3 weeks on the road and then a week at home. So
wow, that's grinding. Wow. And how many shows a week?
I don't know.
Average like 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 some weeks. Yeah.
Really?
It's pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're. Yeah, I mean, I think tomorrow will be show like 36 or 37 since the beginning of the year.
Yeah. So when you're on tour, do you go hit stores and look for stuff?
Always, yeah.
Have you ever been to Future Music?
Yeah, I'm planning.
Oh, cool.
After this, probably.
Yeah, Jack's awesome, and so he knows I'm always sending people over there.
And then I found like I went to an amazing shop in Copenhagen like a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, that you need to check out. It's like you walk in, and they have it's like 2 rooms, but I think they're expanding, and there's just effects all up the walls, but they're categorized by effect type. So it's like all the delays, all the reverbs, and it's in like a real clear order.
Instead of by the brand,
yeah,
which is what everybody does.
So everything's like that, and really like I have some pictures, I think, and because I was like, I think it is just called like effect pedal or something,
Oh,
and
wow,
it's like
Copenhagen.
Yeah.
That's
so
something
next time you're in, like
Yeah.
it was, I spent like hours in there just, and they were like the kind of guys where I was like, I'm looking for something that would do this, and they were like, oh yeah, try this out, and like loads of stuff that I'd seen but hadn't ever like had a chance to try. Like they had the Dr. Scientist Bitquest, so that was where I tried that out.
Oh, nice.
Because they were like, I think they had the Maleko Screwtator, which is like really hard to find anywhere in Europe.
Really?
So I was like, oh, you have one, I'm going to try one. And then they were like, oh yeah, we'll give you like 5 other bit crushers to try. And you're just like, I was like, this never happens.
Right.
So that's been the best spot I've found in a really long time.